Okay, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again for our conversation series. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Amanda Devison, and I am the first VP of BPW Greater Moncton. Business and Professional Women of Greater Moncton look to help women learn, grow, connect, and advocate. So we're really trying to add value and share information to you out in the wide world. So we're bringing on a variety of different guests to talk about a variety of different topics that are for and about women. And tonight, I'm very excited to have Mischka Jacobs with me. I've known Mishka for a couple of years now through a variety of different meetups in the community. So I was very excited with her new role with 211 to ask her to come on and talk to us a bit about that. So before we kind of dive into that, I want to give you a little bit of a background on Mishka herself. So having worked for academic, private, and nonprofit organizations in multiple countries, Mischka Jacobs has a rich background in communications, social media, and community building. She's now joined the United Way of Greater Moncton, or Southeastern New Brunswick, I believe it is actually, United Way of Southeastern New Brunswick as the Director of Community Engagement for 211 New Brunswick, a new information service that connects people quickly to critical government, social, and community support by just dialing 211. So thank you, Mishka. I'm super excited to have you. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. I'm a big fan of BPW and the work that you guys do. I think it's always beautiful. And I think, as women, we rise together, right?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And as we know too, not only will we help each other, but we'll help our entire communities. So that's part of our mission here, is to really kind of get that information out there to people so they really can, share with each other and look at improving our communities, really, and our families. So I had kind of seen a variety of posts to kind of give people some background on how this kind of came to be a thing. So I had seen some things online about 211 and but I wasn't really sure what it was. So I had shared it on the BPW page that, hey, there's this cool thing now, 211. But I was like, what does that even mean? So then I saw that Mishka was involved. So I reached out to her to say, hey, will you come on and do a live with us? Because I think it would be really great for people to understand this resource. Because I did see another thing online later that was actually a post, I think, of somebody had shared a caller experience. And I was floored by it. And I was like, oh my God, people need to know about this. So can you tell us, I guess you can start wherever you like, but I guess what is in essence is 211 and how did it come to be, things like that.
Yeah, so 211 really is the front door to help. It's an information and referral service that connects New Brunswickers to critical human, social, community, and government programs, resources, and services. It's 100% free. It is confidential. Our phones are answered 24/7 every single day of the year. And we have access to 170 languages through interpretation services. So,
wow.
Yeah, so you can call and speak with as much ease as possible. We want this service to be accessible. It's very important for us. And, when you need help, trying to speak in a third or fourth language isn't easy. No. When you need help, sometimes you can't wait for Monday at 9 a.m., right? So it's really important for us that, we're providing a service that's the front door to help, right? And it needs to be that exactly. And to date, we answer calls in less than 30 seconds.
Wow.
Like, not even cell phone providers can provide that service, right?
Everyone, when their phone rings now, they look at it and they're like, text me.
Exactly. So, you're not sitting there lingering, listening to terrible elevated music. You're connecting with a live human being who is trained to navigate resources that are out there. And our community navigators are phenomenal. Like, these are individuals of such high caliber. They have social work backgrounds, psychology backgrounds, rich experiences in community work. They're trained to identify crises, to de-escalate callers, to read between the lines, right? And to really ask the right questions to see the full picture. Because someone can call today because they need food, right? But tomorrow they have to figure everything else out. So
Right.
when you call and you get to speak to a real human being, and that human being gets to ask you questions, we can find out that you need financial assistance and you need support with rent, and you're very stressed, so you need mental health support. You're a single parent, so you need single parent support. Maybe you need employment counseling. We're able to see the full scope of what you're going through, not just in this moment, but on a comprehensive view.
Right.
So yeah, and I work with all 3 United Ways of New Brunswick, not just the Greater Moncton.
Okay.
Yeah. And they have been working on bringing 2-on-1 to the province since 2007.
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it's been rolling around for that long.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's easy to think of United Way as just, a charity or a fundraising organization, but they're really a community impact organization that's working really hard on all levels, right? From grassroots through to partnerships with government to make sure that our communities do better. We don't want to see anyone left behind in the province.
No.
And so for 13 years, they have been working behind the scenes to bring this service to New Brunswick. And as of mid-October, the whole province and the whole of Canada has access to the service. Yeah.
So do you think really the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess, was really kind of COVID? Like the government had no choice but at that point to kind of pull the trigger because there was so much need across so many segments across the entire country?
I think it's definitely fair to say that because we had the pandemic and then we got 2-on-1. Right. But I think the federal government really saw the value of 2-on-1 elsewhere in the province, because they're funding the first 6 months, right?
Okay.
And then the province was able to see the value, even just through our neighbors. PEI and Nova Scotia had it before us, and so we were able to bring it to New Brunswick, and it's truly a service that is outstanding. And when you look at the partnerships behind it, we've got the federal government, the provincial government, United Way Canada, the 3 United Ways of New Brunswick, Find Help that's providing the system behind the service. St. John Human Development Council is working on the database to maintain it. That in itself is such a feat. To have a robust database of government, social, community, human services across the province, and to keep that up to date, right?
Yes.
That's not a small task.
That's a huge undertaking. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we also work very closely with social development and ESIC. So the partners behind the service are very, very powerful. Yeah.
So you said the first 6 months are being funded by the federal government. Is there is it just in discussion right now with New Brunswick to fund it after that? Or has there been a commitment on their part to continue it? Or do you have any insights on that piece?
There's a commitment that the province will continue. I can't go obviously into too many details.
No,
things are.
I don't need the confidential.
Yeah, but there's a commitment on behalf of the provincial government as well as the United Ways to continue funding.
Awesome. Because I know you said it's 170 languages in support. That's incredible. Like that is completely awesome. Because again, it's extremely important for, New Brunswick and Greater Moncton and everything like that is really focused on trying to grow immigration. And obviously that has been a little bit curtailed with COVID, but it's still an important way to build our community. So it is important, like you said, if somebody is having a crisis or in a crisis, they don't have time necessarily or have the vocabulary yet to even communicate what that is in a second or third language or whatever it is, in English or French. So it's awesome that they literally can call this service and they can speak their native tongue and somebody can help them. So that's amazing. So it's free, confidential, 24 hours a day, 170 languages. And there's been how many calls so far?
So we haven't even been in operation for 3 months. Like we launched mid-October and we've already had over 2,300 calls. Like 2,300 calls, more than that.
Wow.
So the need is there, right? The people need support. And it makes sense, right? On a day-to-day basis, life has many challenges. you know,
Yes.
and it's not easy navigating resources. It's not easy, you know, Googling in the dark who can help me, and then picking up the phone and calling one organization after one organization trying to find someone who will help you. And it's stressful when you are in need of help, you know, depending on the situation. Like, just to pick up the phone takes a lot of energy, and you know, you may not have the time or the luxury to spend a week researching.
Yeah, I think too, like, I'm someone that's very involved in the community. We were chatting about this right before we went live, and I've done a lot of volunteering, and my day job, I work at RBC in commercial banking, and RBC is very involved in the community and the RBC Foundation and doing donations. And you get to learn a lot about a lot of the different organizations. But even I find myself, as someone who is active in the community, I'm still discovering new entities and what they do. And so I could only imagine what that would be like to navigate as someone who's in a crisis and needs help. How do you even start? Like, you know, so it's kind of incredible to kind of have this really super easy way. You just pick up the phone and dial 211, and at their fingertips, like at the other end of the phone, someone has the ability to navigate all that for them and give them contact information or whatever it is. So kind of, can you walk us through that? So if I pick up the phone and call 211 and I explain what my issue is, kind of what happens on the other side? Like, how does that
work?
Yeah.
So, I mean, not every call is going to be the same, and the kinds of questions we ask will not be consistent, because, you know, it's not always appropriate to ask the gender of someone, right? There will be certain circumstances where that's just not appropriate. But generally speaking, you know, we'll call and you'll say, I'm a single mom. This was a real call, so we can use this as an example.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
I'm a single mom of 5. I am currently on EI, and I'm curious to know what resources are out there for me. So, you know, in the back end, we're going to say, okay, she's a female, she's a parent, she's speaking English, so we don't need to bring an interpreter onto the phone. She's unemployed. She needs financial assistance. And then we're going to pull up resources for her, also based on her location. So if she says she lives in Edmundston or Fredericton or wherever. So then we're going to pull up different resources that she qualifies for. And that's the important piece, right? So we can't invent resources that don't exist, unfortunately. And some cases there will be gaps, but we will do our best to find resources that will help you. And then, so in this case, we were able to find her resources to help with rent, food, clothing, single parent support, employment counseling, and even Christmas gifts for her 5 children, right? And that comes through the categories and the tagging that happens in the database.
Right.
And like, if we want to get into the deep nitty-gritty of that, they may be beyond my scope.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to get an idea. And I think that's pretty cool too, like the example you use there, because it's not even necessarily that she is in an immediate crisis. It's that she's like, here's my circumstance. What are other resources out there that I can leverage to kind of help myself better my situation?
Yes.
Right. So it may not be I have nowhere to sleep tonight. It may not be I'm completely out of food, but it could be I have 5 children. I'm on EI. I don't know what my options are. Yeah. And there's like you said, there's services out there that are open that she would qualify for that she may not even know about. And now she has this ability to kind of explore those, and it could help her, you know, lift her family up and kind of move into a new direction that she wouldn't have necessarily, it could have been dragged out to be a longer period, or she may not have ended up even knowing that it was a possibility, because at the end of the day, a lot of these social systems are stressed. And so, you know, and a lot of it's automated now too, right? If you need EI, you go online and fill something out. It's not necessarily a touchy-feely face-to-face experience. So, you know, you're getting, you know, you're either approved or not approved, and that's about it, versus it's not a holistic approach, where this one is like 211 is a holistic approach to say, what are your current situations? And then because you guys have an awesome database,
Mhm.
it's able to kind of spit out, hey, well, you should talk to this organization, this organization, this organization. So do you get feedback from the organizations as well? Like I know you've gotten, I'll get some feedback from you on some of the calls that have kind of
Yeah.
come in, but do the organizations that people are directed to, have you gotten any feedback from them on how they feel 211 is benefiting?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great tool for them as well. And, I just want to maybe put into quick parentheses that, if it is an emergency, we definitely want you to call 911. Like if
Yes.
someone's breaking into your house, please call 911.
Yes.
If you think you have COVID, definitely call the helpline 811.
Yeah.
We do not specialize in crisis management or
Emergency situation
or emergencies, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If you call us, we will help you absolutely, but we're not the person to call.
You're adding a third party into the situation.
Yes. Yeah. So crisis management, call the right helpline. But if you don't know what the helpline is, we can give you the information on that, right?
Yeah.
But yes, so we are helping helpers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we're definitely that facilitator for both the New Brunswicker as a citizen or a resident of the province, and then these phenomenal community organizations who are doing such extraordinary work. We're easing the burden of navigation for everyone, so they don't have to spend hours looking for answers for their clients. Mm-hmm. They can free up staff time to serve their people in the ways that they're meant to, because when someone walks into a food bank and needs financial assistance, right, that's not what a food bank is specialized to do.
No,
but they can leverage 211. Either the person can call themselves or the organization can call on behalf of their clients. Right. We've had social workers, they have very specific geographical mandates, and then people move around. You build this rapport with a certain social worker and you have to move for whatever reason.
Right.
Maybe it's cheaper rent, maybe it's for a different job, but because you moved out of the area, they can no longer help you. But that's then a tool that they can give, right? It's a tool that they can use. We're making it very easy for people to connect to the right resources. So when we send you to social development, it's because your needs match their criteria. Right. When we send you to programs, it's because you're eligible. We're not saying, oh, maybe this program for seniors can help you navigate resources for youth. Like, that's not going to work, right?
Yeah.
And so we're helping you make the right call, right? We're connecting you to the right resources. Yeah. We're making sure that, the unnecessary calls to 911 don't have to happen. Right? If it's an emergency, you call 911. But if you're curious about resources that are out there, 211 is that answer for you.
I think it's like, I wish I had a better vocabulary to express how excited I am about this program. I just think it's so amazing because there's so many organizations out there that are doing incredible work. They're trying to reach as many people as possible, but they don't necessarily have the capability to kind of go out there and knock on every door and say, here's who we are and what we do. But like you said, this is an easy way for people who are curious about, well, what is out there for them, that then they can be directed the right way.
Yeah, and it's like the one-stop shop when you need help, right? And it's easy for community organizations in the sense that now they have one spot to keep their information up to date. They don't have to remember which websites are we on, which websites mention us. When there's turnover or, people move, they change jobs. It's still easy to figure out then where is the information sitting and how do I make sure it's up to date, right? Do we have new programs? Have our mandates changed? Have our criteria been adjusted? So, now we consider youth to be
certain age range,
6 to 15 instead of 6 to 21, right? So it's just easier for everyone. It's just easier.
I think too, because where we're in such a unique situation, right? There's a lot of people that are perhaps utilizing these services that never had to before, because all of a sudden we literally ran straight into a pandemic, and a lot of people who had jobs forever those jobs just evaporated, right? So if you think of tourism, hospitality, even restaurant workers, all that stuff, a lot of whom are women. We've seen numerous studies that come out again and again that women are
being affected more,
hugely impacted more so by COVID, whether it's job loss or, you know, the amount of unpaid work that goes on at home, caring for children, caring for elderly, et cetera, et cetera. So for some people, may have been, you know, living their life and never had to utilize these services or utilize EI benefits or any of that kind of stuff before. And all of a sudden their entire world got turned upside down. So they wouldn't even necessarily know where to start. So I think this is an amazing avenue, because literally everything's available there with you know, have a conversation with someone on the phone and they're able to kind of give you this amazing information that, like you said, is directing them by what they qualify for, not just sending them, not giving them broad strokes. It's literally saying, here's the things you should check into, because based on our conversation, you would, you know, these things would apply to you. So I think that's an amazing thing. And also too, again, like I said, some of the people that perhaps have used the services in the past just don't realize that also allows them to leverage other services or programs. And sometimes there's just, you know, when governments change or priorities change or mandates change, kind of where the funds go changes, and new programs are started and other ones are stopped. So this allows them to be like, to realize what's available like today. So that's awesome. So can you, I know you gave us one example before of another call, but can you give us some examples of calls or maybe some feedback you've gotten from people who have called and gotten help from 211?
I mean, everyone who, I don't want to say everyone, that's like a huge generalization. Let me take that back. But many people who have called are so surprised by the caliber of the service, because they call in for one thing and they get answers to so many things, right? And it's always a surprise for them that we're able to do that. And the navigators are always very respectful. So when they say, they're like, listen, this is what I'm hearing, that, you know, you're struggling with mental health. Would you like to know about those resources that you can really leverage? If you say no, we accept you for where you are, right? If today is not the day that you want mental health resources, you know that 211 will always be there for you.
Yep.
And so we hear no and we respect that. But if you say yes, we'll dive into that with you, right? And we can offer follow-ups to make sure that you were able to get the help that you need. And when necessary, we can even advocate for you at certain resources and programs.
Okay.
That's good. And so, you know, we've helped a disabled senior who called to complain about home repairs, that they didn't have the finances to do the very necessary home repairs for their house to be livable. And so we were able to connect them to, you know, different programs like the seniors booklet with social development, and help this person understand the benefits that they are qualified for. This person was completely blown away. They had no idea that there were so many resources out there for them. We had a mom call, and she said that she wasn't working and that the father, unfortunately, is violent at home. So the community navigator immediately asked if she was safe, if her children were safe, and she said yes. Asked, do you have all the resources you need on domestic violence? And she said yes, we're working on a plan to get her and her children out safely. What she needed was understanding social assistance programs that she qualified for, and then food access. And so, you know, we don't do crisis management, but we are there to support you, right? And that's a beautiful example of how, you know, she's in contact already with the very people who can help her with domestic violence, and we can be there to support her other needs.
I think that's an extremely powerful example, because a lot of times, you know, it's not even just necessarily physical abuse. It can be financial and emotional. And some of those things, like the women that don't know how to get out because they don't understand, like, especially if it's financial abuse and their partner's controlling all the funds, well, how are they supposed to leave with their children? Like, what are they supposed to do? How do they continue to live? So that's amazing that they can call 211 and find out, well, what are my options? Because that may be what gets them to finally make that decision. So like you said, you guys aren't the ones executing the plans. You can put them in touch with the people who can help them do that. But I think it's those unknown pieces that sometimes people need, that, it gets them that one step closer at least to figuring out that, maybe they don't have to stay in that situation, and allows them to understand, if they do decide to leave and take advantage of the multiple organizations that look after that then what, they kind of have a little bit of an idea of what happens after that, right?
Yeah.
And what they can apply for and look into, and to keep themselves from going backwards necessarily.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think also what is truly amazing about the service is the far-reaching impacts that we can have. So we have a New Brunswick database, but we also have access to the national team. And so, if you have a caller calling for a family member or a friend that's in a different province, we can still help, and vice versa. So if you're in Ontario and you're worried about someone in Brunswick, someone in Ontario who picks up the phone and answers that caller, they can leverage our database and get you resources and information that's very helpful. And so we had someone call. It was a mom, and she has an adult son in a different city. And he himself has 2 kids, and she's really, really worried about him. He's a full-time dad, full-time student, lost his job. And so we were able to figure out a student financial assistance program for him, and then locate food banks in his area that he would qualify for. Because even if he doesn't get financial aid, if he doesn't have to worry about food, could that help?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm always blown away by the creativity of the community navigators, right? Sometimes the solution is not straightforward, right?
Right.
You may need financial assistance, but you don't qualify for programs. So how can we help you in a different way to ease the burden?
Yeah. No, that's amazing too, because like you said, if they're trying to juggle all these different things, well, if you guys can help them take one thing off their plate, you know what I mean? Then they can focus on addressing those other ones. They don't have to worry about the 6 different things they have going on, because now this one that stress is gone. So that's cool too. And like you said, like, it sounds amazing. The navigators sound like amazingly trained in terms of the discovery and the care in which they put into addressing people's calls and concerns, and, again, identifying things that people may not even know they can get help with. So like, that's an amazing benefit as well of these programs, is like you said, somebody calls about one thing and then they could leave with 6 different resources.
Exactly. And the way we can help is really, really broad. So I mean, listing buckets like food access and programs for seniors, newcomers, parents, families, business owners and workers, shelters or housing, navigating COVID relief programs, or, what does the new orange mean? The previous phase is very confusing for a lot of us. You can call 211 if you've experienced job loss. But if you want to gain access to training, like, that is such a positive need, right? That's not negative. If you need training for you or a teammate or an employee, you can call 211 and we can help you figure that out. And so 211 is really for everyone. Like you said, you don't need to be homeless to access the service. You don't need to be, struggling with schizophrenia, about to be kicked out of your house. You don't need to be starving to call 211. You might just be having a rough week. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Today might just be a particularly tough day. Then you can call 211 and see what help is out there.
Yeah. And I think too, there's been a focus of people realizing how much mental health is being impacted across the board for every person. Like, when there's a worldwide pandemic, I don't think you really get excluded from what's happening. So I think people need to be gentle with themselves and give themselves a break, and recognize that, some days are going to be better than others. And there's some people that, their coping mechanism is to try to pretend like everything's fine and just push through. But maybe what you could normally do in a regular day is not something you can do, and that's okay. And that's the thing. But if you find, you know what I mean, that there's, like you said, if you're having a bad day and you think that maybe you want to talk to somebody, call 211. They might have some resources you can utilize, because then that's just going to help smooth out the road moving forward, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's there, it's funded, like all those programs and organizations exist and they want to
Mm-hmm.
help people. So, people need to leverage that. And I think this is,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm floored with how cool this is, because I know there's so many organizations and so many services out there, and they all make sure not to overlap offerings because they want to make sure they can help as many people as humanly possible. And the fact that there's now like a one-stop shop for people
Mm-hmm.
to kind of access all that is incredible. Like the social supports and the nonprofit community in New Brunswick is incredible, and they're doing incredible things. And I'm so glad that this tool now exists so that they're going to be able to kind of help so many more people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's incredible. I know I've said that word like 800 times. Again, I should have brought my thesaurus, I guess, and
Yeah.
figure out a better word. But
But
so
this is why I love my job. Like when I explain the service and what it can do and how it's helping like over 2,300 calls in less than
already.
3 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it just makes sense to everyone. And
Yeah,
I genuinely love my job. Like I
that's
think
so
it's
awesome. Yeah.
such a wonderful organization to work with, such a beautiful service to, have my name behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with people who really, really care, right?
Yes.
From the
Yeah.
partners behind the service to the community organizations who are doing the hard work day in, day out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just phenomenal. And, it inspires me every day, and to see the beautiful, positive impact that humanity can have. I'm inspired every day.
Yeah.
I'm like such a nerd. I'm such a nerd. But
I love it.
I had the week off last week, and I was so excited to come back to work on Monday that I couldn't sleep the whole Sunday night. I was like, woo, I get to go back.
That's awesome, though. Not everybody gets to do that, right? So that's awesome. I think it's great too that, number one, that you love what you're doing, but number two, that you were selected for this role, because I think you represent it incredibly well. I think you communicate the whole purpose of this extremely well, and I can feel your passion about it. So that's really going to help, because more and more people are going to want to ask you to explain to groups of people what 211 is, just like I wanted you to come on today to talk to our group here and just explain like this incredible resource. So whether our members or community need to utilize it, or perhaps we know someone that can utilize, and the fact that it's like nationwide as well. So for anybody, like you said, that has family members elsewhere, that now we know that 211 is available everywhere, and that it's a resource that people can leverage no matter where they're living in Canada, and but especially here in New Brunswick is awesome. Is there anything else you would like us to know about 211 or anything like that?
I mean, I just, maybe leave with a final thought that life can be really hard, but finding help doesn't have to be anymore. And so if you don't know where to turn or where to start looking, find help starts at 211. That's
awesome.
it.
Awesome. And are you guys available online, or is it through the United websites, or where's the best, if people want to look online to find out more information, what is the best avenue for them to do that?
There is a general website, 211.ca, but to access the service, we only have phone available. It's a brand new service. With time, that may change. But right now, it's call only.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing more and more posts on social media, and you being, like I said, invited to different places to talk about this. I hope that continues. It's exciting to see the posts. The more I see them, the more I understand. And now I'm fully fluent thanks to you, because you came here this evening. It's greatly appreciated. Again, it was an honor to have you here. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. If anyone has any questions, I don't think there's any on here now.
And if anyone ever has questions in the future, whether you work for an organization or you're just someone who lives in New Brunswick and wants to know more, it's always such a joy for me to answer those questions and to speak to people about the service and to see how the service can collaborate, right, with different
Mm-hmm.
organizations and levels of government. So I'm always here to answer questions and to chat. It's my absolute joy.
Awesome. And if anybody's watching this in the post, feel free to still put your question in there. We'll make sure that Mishka gets it and she can respond. She can either post on our page as well, or if you leave your email, then I'll make sure she gets that as well. And you guys, I'll connect you guys that way. But I want to thank you again. I'll let you get back to your evening. Thanks so much for this. I'm very, very excited about 211. I'm very, very excited that you are the person looking after that messaging. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's awesome. I'm excited by your excitement. So that's great. And I'm sure probably we'll even maybe touch base with you down the road and have you come back on again. And I'm sure there'll be plenty more examples if you've had 2,300 calls in less than 3 months. I can only imagine like the data you guys will have in a year's time to say how many people were positively impacted by this service. And that would be something I think that all of us would love to hear more about. So I want to throw that, invite out there. So some point down the road, I'll reach out again and ask you to come back and kind of give us a few more examples and some insights and some nuggets on how it's going.
I look forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful evening.
No problem. You too.